All right, your SEC Insider hit on the Out of Bounds show. ESPN 1059 The Zone is brought to you by Briarwood Wine and Spirits, 4949 Old Canton Road. Nate Dogg and the crew have plenty of vino and spirits for you, including Four Roses Bourbon and Tito's Vodka at Briarwood Wine and Spirits. 4949 Old Canton Road. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel, Out of Bounds Sports. Check it out. Out of Bounds Sports, you can watch the show and see the super cool Bank Plus studio. We welcome in NFL insider and draft insider Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. Mike, what do you think's going on in New England? Do you buy that they could be tanking, or do you think that Belichick believes in either Stidham or Hoyer or someone else?
No, he's never going to tank. I mean, that's not going to happen. The people that are saying that have no clue about Bill Belichick. None. That's not Bill's demeanor to do it. And I think he wants to show he can win without Brady. Listen, this is an ego thing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out between the two of them. And again, two great minds, so to speak, in this profession. And what they've done together, we're not going to live long enough to see again. There will be no head coach and starting quarterback that will do what they accomplished. But I think it came to a point where that marriage had to break up. There was just some friction there. And I think Bill wants to show everybody he can win without Tom Brady. So I'm convinced they ain't tanking. Anybody who writes that or says that, you have no clue about Bill Belichick. None.
So there's a lot of discussion that Belichick really likes Jarrett Stidham. And I thought Stidham showed some really good stuff his junior year and kind of got caught in a bad deal where Gus really didn't know what he wanted to do. Stidham's there was just a lot of static and noise maybe around the offensive side of the football. But he does look like he's got skills between Baylor and Auburn. Would you be surprised if Belichick was able to make him at least a good NFL or pretty good to good NFL QB, Mike?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, I think one of the things that has to be looked at is if you're another NFL team, would you trade your starting tight end for their starting tight end? Would you trade your starting receivers for their starting receivers? And the answer is no. And listen, I don't know how good N'Keal Harry is going to be. I think, he was a talented player at Arizona State. He gets hurt right off the bat in New England, but there's a lot of I don't know about N'Keal Harry as an NFL player. But they've got to add pieces to the puzzle there. And I think that's the thing that kind of rubbed Brady the wrong way. That, okay, you saying that I didn't take the money so you could go out and get free agents to help. Where are they? Okay, he did try with Josh Gordon, but obviously Josh has had some issues, and not just a few, quite a few. Then he brings in Antonio Brown, and that became, just the moment forced you to make the decision with Antonio, and rightfully so. But again, Gronkowski retires. Where's the other tight end? He brings in Ben Watson, and God bless him. Ben was well past his prime to come in to try to help. In essence, the one thing with Belichick, Rick Venturi and I, we've talked about this a lot. Rick was on that staff in Cleveland numerous times. Bill has reached out to Rick to get back in coaching, but Rick's like, man, at my age, I ain't getting back in. I done did my time. That's the way he puts it. But he was, I don't get what he's trying to solve here. That he's just not been able to draft that right guy or go out in free agency and get that right guy. But if you got a star quarterback and the greatest of all time, why aren't you trying to help him?
Mm-hmm.
Look what the Saints have done. The last 2 years with Drew Brees, is at the trail end of his career. You've went out and get a veteran like Jared Cook at tight end. You've just recently picked up Emmanuel Sanders. You've used early round picks on wide receivers, not all of them, so to speak. None of them have really turned out, but you've at least given that a shot. And Bell, it's just it's odd the way it ends for both of them, and I think it's made the Buccaneers a contending team. I think in the past I had always felt, and people have heard me, that they pretenders. Every year it's the same thing. They got people that's trying to convince you that this is a really good football team and a playoff team, and it never happens. With Brady there and those weapons he's got, they are a contender.
It's going to be so. Obviously, you cover the Saints every day, and you've covered them for a long time. It's going to be pretty exciting knowing that Breeze and Brady are going to get after each other twice this year, Mike.
Almost. I mean, this is made for prime time.
Yes.
I mean, come on, they got to put those games prime time. The last time they went after one another, and Brady just drilled them. This was early in the season, a couple years back, and so he absolutely torched them. So I'm doing TV right afterwards. It was a CBS game, and so I'm on with Channel 4 and WWL TV, and we sitting, on the turf, and this is, hour and a half after the game, and they still got a couple hundred Patriots fans in the stands sitting, waiting for Brady to pass and cheering him. Well, here's the best part. Mickey Loomis stops them. They took a picture with his kids and nephews and all that before Brady could get to the bus. Which, I'm sitting there, and they got a number of the people that cover them in the Boston papers and all that, and we all do in television. And then we see Brady, because we could hear the fans, they were all excited. And I just turned, and I saw, Brady to my right. And he used to train here in Metairie.
Yeah.
For many years. He trained with Tom Shaw here. And so I just turned quickly and looked, and I just gave him the thumbs up, and he waved back. But he's got his satchel, and Loomis walks up to him. They shake hands. And he's posing for pictures with kids and nephews and everything else, which was really something to see. That even the opposing team, you waiting around. This is an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes after the game, and you're waiting to get that picture too.
Mike Detillier, Saints NFL insider, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. We are streaming on YouTube. You can go to Out of Bounds Sports, check out our YouTube channel. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Another new QB, but he's not new to you, Mike, or Sean Payton, Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina. How do you think this will play out with Matt Rule and Joe Brady, two up-and-coming, super talented young coaches, and now that Bridgewater's gotten healthy and he's had the opportunity to be under Sean and Drew for a couple of years, Mike?
Matt's going to turn the offense over to Joe. Matt's more a defensive-oriented guy. It's his first merry-go-round as a head coach in the NFL, and it's different. It's totally different than college football. So he's going to turn that offense over to Brady. And Joe and I had a few talks, even last year, about Teddy during the summer months. And, his concern was, I get why he signed here, but, nothing happens to Drew, he ain't going to play. And sure enough, Drew goes down with the thumb injury, and he gets an opportunity. And I could tell Joe had an affinity for Teddy. He really liked him. I thought a lot about him as a player. Now, I think what's going to be different from what you saw at LSU a year ago, and he sort of explained this to me, is that we can't run the same pace at the NFL. They won't allow it. He knew that offense would be successful. Now, If he knew he'd be that successful, I'm not sure at LSU, but he was pretty confident. And he had just explained to me that, the NFL, they're going to slow you down. They're not going to let you make that throw, run up to the line of scrimmage. He said, their deal is you're not going to run that fast-paced type offense in the NFL. The referees sort of slow you down. But I think you're going to see some elements of that. In that, I think he's going to try to get a more faster pace, and he likes that part of the game. He thinks he can catch you a little bit off guard. And with McCaffrey, who he's the best all-around back in the game today, and DJ Moore, who I think is a really good player at wide receiver, that'll work. Now, Carolina isn't telling you this, and is the dirtiest word in the sports language, but it is the R word, rebuild. And that's what's happening there. They've kind of masked this a little bit, but they're rebuilding in Carolina. And with a first-year head coach that comes from the college ranks, I just hope they can protect Teddy. That's going to be the key for him. They give him protection. He's going to do a good job for him. But, again, part of the problem in Carolina has been they haven't protected anyone.
No.
They didn't protect Cam. He got the stew kicked out of him. And then even Kyle Allen, who they dealt off to the Redskins, he was another guy that he would bolt out of the pocket. My old neighbor, Joe Clark, who was almost 90 years old, first time he saw Kyle Allen, he said, Mike, he can throw the football pretty well, but he's a bolter. He said a lot of it has to do with the fact, see those 5 guys up front? They don't protect him well. As soon as he feels the pressure, he takes off. He takes off running it. So it'll be interesting to see that that's not Teddy's forte. He's a little bit mobile, but he's not what you want to call a runner at this stage of his career. So I'm interested to see how Joe will be able to fit all this in because of the fact that what you saw at LSU, I think you'll see some remnants of, but you're not going to see that super fast-paced offense that he ran at LSU only because the NFL won't allow you to do it.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. He joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. If you were Washington, would you take Tua?
I would because I have no
Me too.
Inclination that Dwayne Haskins is going to be able to cut it. None. I really don't. I've seen a little of him. And certainly he played well at Ohio State that final year, but you just really can't go off of that. And my thing is I would take Tua, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to take Chase Young. I mean, I think it's obvious.
So Tua to the Dolphins, in your opinion, or where?
This is what I think will happen. And I don't know if they can cut a deal, but I've long been convinced. The owner told you months ago that he wanted Joe Burrow. His deal was, I'm not real sure about Tua's injuries. There's one guy there that we really like. And so he's telling you. But people don't listen too well or don't comprehend too well. He actually told people that's what he wanted to do. So I think they're going to try to make that move to get Joe Burrow. Now, if it can happen, I have no idea. I think it would take a tremendous amount to do it. If not, then I think it's Tua. And he'll have to be dragged into that. But I think it's a good spot for Tua. But I'm also convinced the Redskins pick Chase Young. Ron Rivera, defensive-oriented coach, when he was in Carolina, he had a guy by the name of Julius Peppers. You look at Chase Young. He's not as big. He's not as lengthy as Peppers was. But there's a lot of similarities. He's a much more refined player coming out of Ohio State than Peppers was coming out of North Carolina. Now, Peppers really was a basketball player that sort of got into football late in life.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a little bit more refined guy. He isn't as lengthy as Peppers, but I think that's what he envisions in Chase Young. that he's going to get a Julius Peppers type guy, and I think that's what he wants. And I think they've given him a little bit of the chalk to write on the chalkboard with to make that selection. But it would be hard for me to pass up Tua. Really would.
Me too.
I think that there's so much uncertainty, and Haskins is not your guy. You know, somebody else picked him. Now, the backdrop to that is the owner's son went to high school with Haskins. He knew Haskins. He wanted Haskins. He got Haskins. So has that discussion, had before they even hired Ron that, listen, I want Dwayne to be the guy. Now, that part I couldn't tell you, but there is a connect the dots there a lot. And, you got an owner who's been a major screw-up.
Right.
Right. It's not like he's made all these great decisions in Washington. He's made very few of them.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Miller Lite guest line talking NFL QBs. And, man, a lot going on as the chess pieces move around the board this time of year, starting with Brady to Tampa Bay. I agree with Mike. You look at Tampa Bay's offensive and defensive line, things are set up for them to maybe make some noise and could be a thorn in the Who Dat Nation's side. We'll see how that shakes out.
I think everybody's side, to be honest with you. I mean, you put Brady with Godwin and Evans and Brady and O.J. Howard, man, that's going to be tough to defend. That's all I can tell you. It's going to be really tough to defend.
So Belichick, there's been talk. Let's go back. Stidham and Hoyer. Okay, maybe there is.
It's going to be Stidham. I'm convinced that he has basically laid his cards down in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, he's went out and got a couple veteran guys.
Right.
But he's telling you, without telling you, that without dealing for Andy Dalton, that Stidham is his guy. I think he's made the decision that he's going to ride with Jared Stidham.
So no Dalton.
And you look at my thing is, what happens to the other three quarterbacks here? What happens to Dalton in this merry-go-round?
Right.
What happens to Cam Newton in the merry-go-round? What happens to Jameis Winston? That there's not enough seats at the table.
Right.
Now, I do think it's sort of athletically morbid to say, but I'm sure the agents have had a talk with these quarterbacks to say, hey, listen, something's going to physically happen to a quarterback in the NFL, and we're going to be there to cash in. But that moment hasn't happened, or you may have to wait. You may have an injury or something, that you can't predict, and then you can make a move. Everybody's trying to get everybody to L.A., to the Chargers.
What do you think shakes out?
My thing, one of the three have to end up there.
Okay.
I've seen enough of Tyrod Taylor. Okay. I've seen enough of him to know he ain't winning no world title for me. So you're going to have to make a move there. But I think that move will be done on draft day. Okay. I think that the Chargers are going to pick a quarterback in round one. And it would be, to me, Justin Herbert. From talking to a few people in the organization, they really like Justin. And they have no inkling that, everybody knows Burrow's going one, and they don't feel as though they're going to get that shot at Tua. And so they're going to go with Herbert. And so you draft a young quarterback. And so if that happens and Miami deals up to get Tua and Cincinnati gets Burrow, then where does this leave, Love from Utah State? And where does it leave the three veteran quarterbacks?
See, I can't wait to see what shakes out with the Chargers, because then that, some other things will shake out once they do their deal. Let me ask you this. Mike Detillier NFL Draft Saints Insider on the Miller Lite guest line. We've got 2 minutes or so, Mike. So Sean's going all in as Taysom Hill is the number 2. Is that right?
Well, that's what he's telling you.
So you're not.
I'm not buying it, but,
Okay.
but I get it.
Okay.
But I get where he's going with Taysom. I get where he's going now. He's the only one that's saying that. Okay, other than Taysom, and I get it why Taysom's saying
Sure.
he's ready to be to take over for Drew, but you got to have to convince me that he can be a starting quarterback and a good one in the NFL. He's just not replacing some scrub quarterback.
Right.
You are replacing one of the all-time greats. And I have watched him practice, okay? And you can listen to Sean, and that's great. And he's seen him in practice more than I have. But I have been to practices where, again, it's just air, and he's not – Drew throw the football 20 times, it never touches the ground. You watch Taysom, he'll throw 3 or 4 real good ones, 2 or 3 high, then 2 or 3 low. Then he's 4 or 5 real good ones. Again, that's against air.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in a regular season game. But I got some guy, and I guess, man, he is bored with this coronavirus thing. He keeps sending me videos of the Chargers-Saints preseason game about, well, look what Taysom did here. And I'm thinking, okay, I get it. I did watch the game too. But my thing is, this is preseason. It was preseason. It's the biggest mirage in pro sports, if that's what you're going off of. But, again, I've seen too much inconsistency with him throwing the football. Is he a great athlete, tremendous player?
Sure.
Do I want him on my team? Absolutely.
Right.
But as a starting quarterback, I mean, how can you say he's got all the stuff when you've never seen him in that position?
Right.
And why did Sean go with Teddy and not him? Okay, Sean has beat the table about, he's my number 2 guy. He's my quarterback of the future. When Drew went down, who did he go to?
Teddy.
He went to Teddy, right? He didn't say, hey, man, we're going to show everybody here with Taysom here what we got. He went with what he thought would win him games. Sean's already told you what he wanted to tell you.
We'll leave it there.
He trusted Teddy
Right.
more than he trusted Taysom. If that's not the case, then Taysom would have played. But listen, Bo, you got some hard-headed people here. They don't want to believe any of that. Oh, well, that he just fit. No, he has told you for 2 years he's his guy. But when the moment came, it didn't happen. He went with Teddy.
Mike Detillier. At Mike Detillier on Twitter. We'll leave it there. Mike, stay safe. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks a lot, guys. Everybody be safe.
Mike Detillier, Saints NFL Insider, on the Miller Lite guest line. The show is presented by Superior Foundation. For all your foundation repairs and needs, Superior Foundation. Superior Foundation.